Welcome to Elmhurst Public Library at Home, the library's online program series. My name is Jez. I'm the Adult and Teen Programming Coordinator at the library, and today I'm going to show you how to make an infinity scarf with finger knitting. Now, finger knitting only needs your fingers, some yarn, and a pair of scissors at the end. The best kind of yarn to use is a weight 5 bulky or a weight 6 super bulky yarn. You could use any kind of yarn you want. What it's going to look like in the end is kind of a long rope that you can make any length you want. The ideal length for one of these is 30 to 50 yards for yarn. It's about a ball about this size. But if you want to use a larger skein, you can use it until you feel like you're done and cut it off at that point. So we're going to take our ball of yarn. I'm using a weight 5 bulky yarn. You're going to find the loose end of the yarn and pinch it between the thumb and forefinger of your non-dominant hand. And you always want to keep the palm face up towards you. So you're going to leave a little bit of a tail here. Just hold it there against your forefinger. We're going to take the yarn and you're going to wrap it kind of around the front finger. It's going to be a line on your forefinger. So it's going to be in front of that finger, behind your middle finger, front of the ring finger, and behind the pinky. We're going to do the same thing coming back. We're going to go around the pinky, so in front, behind the ring finger, in front of the middle finger, and behind the forefinger. We're going to do the same thing, that same pattern. I'm going to kind of hold that another way. So in front, behind, in front, behind, front, behind, in front, behind. So now we have 2 lines across each finger. And whenever you do this, you always want to start at your thumb, go to your pinky and come back. You always need to end at your thumb before going on to this next step. If you stop somewhere in between, it's going to get all messed up and you're going to drop some stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up this bottom loop on my pinky and bring it over the top, leaving that top loop in place. It's going to kind of fall to the middle. That's okay. We're going to do the same thing on the next finger. Take the bottom loop, bring it over the top, and we're going to do it for all 4 fingers. Now your first finger here, that bottom loop is actually your loose end. So you want to just kind of bring that over the top without dropping it on your thumb. So just hold that in place. It's going to look like you've got like a little backwards C here with the connected end coming out of it. So we're going to do that same pattern. Front, behind, front, behind, front, behind, and front, and behind. So again, we're back to having 2 lines on every finger. So at this point, we know that we can move on to picking up the bottom loops and bringing them over the top. Do that. Once you have this second line of stitches done, you can drop your loose end, just kind of let it hang behind. You can actually pull on that a little bit to tighten things up. But otherwise, we're going to keep going through that same pattern over and over until you either run out of yarn or you get the length of scarf that you want. The best thing about making an infinity scarf to start is that it's just the one pattern over and over, and it makes a long rope, and that essentially becomes the basis for what you'll use in other kinds of finger knitting, whether you're making a pillowcase, if you're making a headband, if you're making a blanket. They're all going to use these same basics. So we're going to go ahead and just keep making this. You can do it as many times as you like. So I'm going to go ahead and just keep going. As you go, If you look on the other side of your hand, you're gonna get this kind of ladder looking piece. If you pull on the end there, it'll tighten it up a little bit, but this is what it's gonna look like going along. The thicker your yarn, the less of the holes you'll have in the middle, and those will also tighten up as you go along. They'll close up. And if you have trouble keeping the yarn on your fingers, if it's starting to slip off, you can pull the loops of yarn farther down on your fingers. If you have limited mobility in your hands, you're gonna wanna keep it towards the top so that you don't have to pass the yarn over as far. You might wanna bend your fingers down as you do that. That may not be possible for everybody. That's okay, take things at your own pace. But if you have shorter fingers and more slender, you might wanna bring it down. It's all up to you, whatever keeps the yarn on your hands. So just keep doing that same pattern over and over until you run out of yarn or until you have the desired length of your scarf. So if you're using a much larger skein and you've finished the length of scarf that you would like, go ahead and take your scissors to cut off from the larger skein so you have a loose end. If you don't, you're just going to go until you run out of yarn. You want to leave about 6 to 8 inches here at the end before the last step. So we don't have enough to go across and back without leaving that length. So to tie off, you're going to take that loose end and bring it up through the bottom of your first finger. We're going to go down through the loop on your middle finger and go up on the ring finger and down through the pinky finger. So you can see it's kind of looped through. Kind of goes down here and up and around. You can kind of pull that tight. And at this point, you're able to take the stitches off of your fingers. Something like this. If you pull this tight, it'll pull all 4 of those loops together. There are a couple of different ways to bind off. This I find is the easiest, especially for beginners. And when you get to the end of your scarf, you can go ahead and take those 2 loose ends, the one that we started with and the one we ended with, and you're just going to go ahead and make a knot. So you can pull them together so the ends match. Go ahead and knot that one more time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take these loose ends and weave back and forth, coming through the loops on one side and to the other. Just sew back and forth so that it pulls these ends together. Right now you have 2 kind of triangle points that meet together. We want to make that a little bit more flush so that it comes together like that. So just take those back and forth. You can use a yarn needle if that's easier for you. I find that sometimes that just gets in the way and it's easier just to use your fingers as you've been doing. Once you have that done, go ahead and take your scissors and cut off any length of yarn that is still left, and you have your finished scarf. If you don't want to go that long, you can make a bracelet like I just did. You can make it any length you want. There's lots of videos online teaching you how to make finger knitting into other things. The scarf is by far the easiest, and you get a lot of practice with that same pattern over and over. Thanks for watching.